What's going on, everyone? Welcome on in to a Falcons Today mailbag video. It was filmed during our live show Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, although next week it's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, but that's just a one-off. So let's get right into the show with our first question coming in from Trent47. What do you think about signing Justin Simmons to complete the secondary? We did a video on Jamal Adams being linked to Atlanta by ESPN, but I think Justin Simmons is one of the most underrated, underappreciated safeties, just overall defenders in the National Football League. Guys, over the last 4 seasons, he has how many interceptions? 16? 19? He leads the NFL in picks since he entered the league in 2016. He was a cap casualty for Denver. They had to trim the fat because they took on an $85 million dead cap hit from Russell Wilson. And the safety position as a whole was being gutted across the league. If Justin Simmons walks into this Falcons secondary, it's going to make it 2 times better. I do think DeMarco Hellams has some upside to his game, but if you can get Simmons on a pretty cheap contract, put him with Jesse Bates, that's an all-pro safety tandem right there. I mean, that's a defense that needs no pass rushers. There's just no passes going to be completed down the field because of those duos. So I would be very on board with a Justin Simmons signing. I do like Hellams, like I said, but I can't overlook one of the best safeties in football. So would you sign Justin Simmons? Yes or no? Let me know down below in the comment section. I think most fans tend to have a quick trigger on pulling the plug on first and second year guys, and Hellams I think has some really good room to grow into, but Justin Simmons is on a tier of his own, and I think him and Jesse Bates together would be unstoppable. Complete the states. Is Dallas Turner at 8 a reach? Yes or no? I don't think it is. I don't think Dallas Turner is one of the most marquee edge rushers we've seen coming into the draft. He's not a Myles Garrett first overall shoe-in, Aiden Hutchinson, Travon Walker. But I also think, unlucky for him, he's in a draft class that has 3 really good quarterbacks, and those always take priority over edge rusher. And Marvin Harrison, who all these guys could be first overall picks if they went in different drafts. So I think Dallas Turner at 8 might be looked back at as a steal, actually. I like Turner. I don't love Turner, like head over heels, think he's a surefire thing. But I think Atlanta's just got to take the chance at the edge rusher spot since they can never get that down. Diego, if Kirk wins us a Super Bowl, would you put him at first for all-time Falcons QBs ahead of Ryan and Vick? That's a tough question. I'm going to go with no. I'm still going to say Matt Ryan. But, I mean, that's going to sound awful right now because the guy would have won a Super Bowl. I also like that, by the way, the Falcons put a really big fat incentive in his contract if he wins this Super Bowl, which the Vikings did too, but he had to be the MVP of the Super Bowl to get that money. So some broke bitches up in Minnesota. Credit to Arthur Blank for just saying, if you get us there, if you win us it, I don't care if you're the MVP or not, here's $2 million. That's a good question, though. I'll let the audience have some fun in the comment section with that. I'd go with Matt Ryan still number 1, and then Kirk, then Vick. What are your thoughts on a trade? One last thought on that last question. It's kind of like when you think about the Miami Heat all-time greats. Is LeBron James the greatest Miami Heat player of all time? No, because he was only there for 4 seasons. Like, I want to give credit to the longevity. All right, Jackson. What are your thoughts on a trade back to pick 15 to 18? If Terrion Arnold is available, take him. From the trade, we get a second-round pick. With our 2 second-round picks, take best edge rusher and wide receiver there. I do like Terrion Arnold a lot, so you almost kind of have me sold on that by itself. I'll also add for the pro column for trading back and picking up a second. I mean, there's a chance that Atlanta has some first and second day draft picks stripped from them if this tampering allegations prove to be true. So it may not be a bad idea to stockpile some early picks now because you may not have them in the future. So that may weigh into the decision as well. No guarantee that if you trade back to 15 to 18, Arnold will be there. I mean, what if he goes to the Raiders at 13, for example? So, or the Broncos at 12, or the Vikings at 11. So I wouldn't put all your eggs in that basket. As for finding an edge rusher and wide receiver in round 2, you can find some good wide receivers in round 2. Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown. Edge rushers in round 2, we've talked about this before on the channel. There's a much bigger drop-off between wide receivers and edge rushers in rounds 1 and 2. Like, there's good wide receivers in both rounds, but the edge rushers really fall off a cliff when you leave round 1 historically. So I'm not too upbeat that you're going to find anyone better than Arnold Ebiketie in round number 2, which, hey, that's not a bad player, but that's not a guy that's going to be the long-term solution at the longest plaguing position in Falcons history. Really quickly, I do want to remind you guys that the Kirk Cousins jerseys are here. So if you want to get a brand new Falcons jersey for the new quarterback and rep number 18, go to chatsports.com/Cousins. Get the jersey today. That way, if you don't get it today and you push it off until the spring and into the summer and whatnot, there could be some back orders. It could take a long time to come over from China. We all know how this works. And then when the first game rolls around, you're rocking, I hope not a Desmond Ridder jersey. So go to chatsports.com/Cousins to get your very own Kirk Cousins jerseys today. Funeral services. When did Kirk come to the facility? Officially, after 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday of the first day of the new league year. Allegedly, before that. Like, at least that's a possibility, right? That the Falcons brought him in. He kind of slipped up in his press conference and said, when I met with the trainer, well, how'd you meet with him? You couldn't have met with him before Wednesday unless you had an illegal, doctor check, medical check on your Achilles, because the Falcons wanted to know how that thing was looking before they gave you all that money. So that's what the NFL is investigating right now. Casey Hicks, first-time super chatter. Thank you, Casey. How long do these tampering investigations usually conclude? The Dolphins one went for 6 months. That's the most recent one, and that involved a $1.5 million fine and a loss of a first-round draft pick. But I think it was a little bit more severe than the Falcons, right? They had allegations of not going through the Rooney process correctly, right? When they moved on from their head coach, Brian Flores and whatnot. I don't remember the exact details of it, but that was an element of it. And then Sean Payton and Tom Brady tampering stuff. So they had a couple of infractions. So hopefully it's not as severe as it was for Miami for Atlanta. Jeff, next one up on the show. Do you think the Falcons will draft a QB in the later rounds and say goodbye to Heineke? Well, they guaranteed so much money for Kirk Cousins for 2025. That was a huge selling point for Kirk to come to Atlanta was, hey, Minnesota, they may be drafting your replacement as soon as this year, and then they'll move on from you after 1 year. That's why he picked Atlanta, because he wanted to go somewhere that wanted him beyond just one season. What kind of message does that send? I know you're talking about Heineke, but just stick with me for a second here. What kind of message does that send to Kirk Cousins of, hey, we know we just signed you and we made this kind of guarantee and monetary form that you'll be here for more than 1 year, but we're already thinking about your replacement by drafting a quarterback in round 3 or round 4. That may not be a really good first few months and weeks on the job, don't you think? So I don't think Atlanta goes after a quarterback early in this draft at all. Now, when it comes to replacing Heineke, I think they want to keep Heineke for that veteran backup presence because they know they're not going to find one in the draft since they are hitching their wagon to Kirk Cousins for the next 2 to 3 seasons. So you may as well stick with a more sure thing than just turning it over to a 6th-round pick that, if he has to step in, you have no idea what to expect. Jaden Henry, why don't we trade back and get Laiatu Latu over Dallas Turner? Latu has Max Crosby and TJ Watt upside. I mean, I give credit to you, Jaden, because every single year in the draft, we kind of get these pre-draft rankings of positions in our head. And if you suggest taking someone later in those rankings, you're looked at as a leper. But every single year in the draft, we see guys that go later outperform players that went earlier at the same position. So just surface level, I don't hate you suggesting going after Laiatu Latu over Dallas Turner. I would prefer Turner because you don't find just incredibly freaky athletic players like him that also have production, right? There's always great athletes that enter the draft. Every single year we hear about a guy that's so big and so fast and so strong. He's going to be such a great player. It sounds like a great track star. Football's played with pads, not in underwear. But Dallas Turner has the freaky athleticism. He runs faster than wide receivers. and he also has 10 sacks last year to back it up at Alabama. So I'm going to stick with Dallas Turner, but I don't hate you for having this idea. Complete the states. Once again, is the 18 jersey story a smokescreen? So going back to the hashtag Tampergate, did Kirk Cousins take 18 so that it didn't sound off alarm bells that him and Kyle Pitts had already arranged, when I come to Atlanta, can I have number 8, please? I don't think so, and I don't think the NFL really cares about that very much. One, it's not against the rules for Kirk Cousins and for Kyle Pitts to communicate in the offseason. Kyle Pitts just can't serve as a mediator between Cousins and the Falcons coaching staff. And there's very little proof of that, and I don't know how you can find proof unless Kyle Pitts is an idiot and didn't delete text messages. So I don't think it is a smokescreen. I think this is maybe just Kirk Cousins going, hey, dude, I want to be a good new teammate, and I'll pick a new jersey number. That's kind of my best stab at it. Grand Limousine, what's going on? $50 super chat. This was one hell of a limousine. All the Atlanta games will get you there in style. Go Falcons. I love the sell promo right here. For a moment, I thought I'd talk about me. I was like, wait, I think this is just an ad right now. So, all right, there you go. You want to go to a Falcons game? Want to go to the Benz in style? They're your people. Mason, when will a trade or move by the Falcons happen time frame wise? Let's just say the next big move would be Haason Reddick. Right, let's just say that's something the Falcons have circled. When could that happen? It kind of happen at any point now, right? The Eagles are definitely looking for offers, and they want to have a competing offer so they can drive up the price a little bit. But if they don't have any competing offers, it would be in both parties' interest to get a trade done sooner rather than later. Sooner for the Eagles in this example, because then they get the Falcons draft pick, and they can start researching who do we want to use with that pick, or do we want to trade that pick up or down? And then good for the Falcons because now they know they have an edge rusher, so they can alter their draft strategy. So when could it happen? I really can't give you a definitive timeline. It could just be any time from the time you're watching this up until... I don't think it would happen that close to the draft. I think if we got to the draft, teams may just play the draft out and see if they get a guy or two that they were hoping to get for in the draft. Maybe in draft trade, though, if Atlanta really wants an edge rusher in round 2, they don't get one, or the guy they wanted goes a pick before them, so they call up Philadelphia and say, we'll give you our pick right now for Haason Reddick. Jack, what do you think of trading back into the teens and drafting Jared Verse and then trading back into the 20s for A.D. Mitchell? This sounds like a lot of fun, Jack. Don't get me wrong. It does take 2 to trade, and I do think that's an important thing to remember. Of you may like the idea of trading back, and on paper that may sound like a great idea, but are you going to find someone to trade with? The answer may be no, right? And if you're trading back, it better be for a purpose, right? Because you may just pass on some really good players, and then you don't have another opportunity to trade back again if that was the plan all along. So I do like Jared Verse. I love his story, the way he came from Albany, goes to Florida State, back-to-back 9-sack seasons. A.D. Mitchell looks like he's going to be, I wouldn't say a surefire thing in the NFL, but I think he's going to be a reliable starter. I don't know if he's going to, completely turn the position upside down or be a top 5 receiver or anything like that. I don't really see that high of a ceiling for him, but I'm not opposed to this idea. I would just caution you to not get your hopes up because you may not find someone wanting to trade with you. Jordan Grace, Kirk Cousins or Baker Mayfield? Which one would you have preferred for Atlanta? Kirk Cousins, 100%. I think Baker had an awesome season last year in Tampa. That's not a hot take or anything. I do have my own personal just sports theory or belief of if a player has a bad stretch, goes to a new city, and it has a breakout year, they caught lightning in a bottle in that city. If they try and bring that over to another spot, it's not going to continue. I don't have great numbers or facts to back that up, but that's always just been my personal theory of like, whoa, that guy had a breakout season there. Let's bring him on over. Whoa. What's the outlier here? 3 bad seasons before that or 1 good season? Probably the 3 bad seasons. Don't be the team that overpays him for 1 good season. So I would have preferred Kirk Cousins since he had a much better track history before Baker. Clout on 2s. Do you see us making a trade for a star player like L'Jarius Sneed or Reddick? Haason Reddick, yes. L'Jarius Sneed, low-level rumor from, who was he? Jason Licanfora. I can't remember who it was. Guy from Sportskeeda. Tony Pauline. Reddick. D. Coleman. What is Mike Hughes' future with this team? I think it's a special teamer and a backup cornerback. Maybe compete with Clark Phillips for that CB2 job if they don't target cornerback early in the draft, but I don't think it's a very long-term future. Robert Blackman, call Minnesota for their first 2-round picks to get an edge rusher and a wide receiver. Minnesota got the 23rd overall pick to move up in the draft to get a quarterback. That is very obvious to me. Now, if they can't move up in the draft to get one of the top 3 guys, I would love to see the Falcons and the Vikings swap 8 and 11. Okay. Minnesota gets J.J. McCarthy. The Falcons have Kirk Cousins. We have a true scientific study of which team made the better decision. And Atlanta could still get Dallas Turner at 11 because I think the Bears at 9 want to surround Caleb Williams with a star wide receiver like Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors. I think the Jets are so good on their defense, they'll target offensive line. And then you've got Atlanta at 11, getting Dallas Turner and getting a pick after moving back from 8 to 11. Cody Vines, who do you see the Falcons signing next in free agency? I don't know if I have a specific name for you. I'll give you 2 positions. Safety, if they don't feel like DeMarco Hellams or Richie Grant is ready to be a starting safety this year. And then I think they're pretty good at wide receiver. I mean, they've added a handful of names. Darnell Mooney, brought back Kadero Hodge, Rondale Moore. But Moore's unproven. Hodge is a special teamer. So you're kind of down to really 2 guys, London and Mooney. So maybe another wide receiver like Tyler Boyd. All right, that will do it for us on this mailbag today. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, I invite you to do so. That way you can be a part of future mailbags.